Okay. Hi.
Hi,
How
Marissa.
you doing, Diane?
Good.
It's
Yeah.
been a
It's a
while. Has
beautiful.
it been like basically a year, right?
Yes,
I
it
know,
has been.
right? So, how you guys doing?
We're hanging in there. It's a
Right.
little
Yes.
start of the school year, a little nuts, but
I
we're
cannot
doing.
imagine that for you. I have a 3-year-old and like signing up for the things and getting it all ready, it's enough. I don't have as many as you have.
It's interesting times, but
Yeah.
but
Well, thanks for, inviting this conversation. And I know we couldn't have something in person, but hopefully, in the future, I look forward to having that and getting to meet all your friends.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
we would love
Um,
to do it.
yeah. So I'm curious, like, what kind of caught your eye about us when we last met, to kind of start this conversation? Because I really appreciate that you know, we connected.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think at the event that I attended, I was really struck by that Erin had a mission. She had a goal in mind, but unfortunately, her time on Earth was not as long as expected, and was not able to set out on the mission. And that you guys are carrying it through, and just it's a very, very relevant topic as we're raising our children in this crazy, crazy world that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
I mean, every other day you hear of just crazy stories, and it starts, as young as yours, or even a little bit younger,
Mm-hmm.
of just educating our children, educating them about their surroundings. So I think what you guys are doing and setting out and trying to get it into the school system is a huge need.
Thank you. Yeah, I think doing this work I realized too, and I also have a 10-month-old and I have the 3-year-old, and I'm realizing, how relevant it is, even though we work mainly with 7th graders is where our curriculum is, and we'll talk more about that. But I'm faced with these little situations with just my 3-year-old, and I can just see, I'm like, wow, this can start early. And actually, one of our goals is to start earlier with the prevention as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can hop a little bit into kind of what we do, just a reminder overview. I know you mentioned Erin, who the foundation was really started in memory of her life's work. She had an experience. So she was in college and she came home one weekend for a holiday break. And a friend that she had known for a very long time and hung out with, she went to his house. They were not drinking, they weren't doing drugs, and he raped her. And she really didn't tell anyone in the family for quite some time. And so when she went back to school, she went to Wake Forest, she realized that she felt alone in her own way. And yet, if she did talk to people about it, that she wasn't alone in what had happened to her. And so she realized this was bigger than just her. And then it took her many years to tell her mom, Wendy, who you met. And they were like the closest people ever, right? Like Erin like didn't even want to sleep out because she was like, I love my mom, so she's not going to go sleep out anywhere. And so Erin was going to live her life to do this work. She was going to go to Maryland Law School to work on prevention and support survivors healing. And unfortunately, her senior year of college, actually right before spring break, she had a pain and it turned into being cancer, and she lost her life quite quickly. She did talk about her experience, chemo, and once she was deemed terminal, and what she wanted to see happen in the world. And this was it, right? Like she said, cancer sucks. I hate cancer, but people are working on that. And she really had a vision for sexual assault prevention and survivor support. So once she passed, I even remember she had like a conversation like in hospice about like this is the work she wanted to see. And so when we all got together and said, what what should this be? And her legacy, it was decided, it was what she was going to live for, right? Not what she kind of died with. So that's kind of the beauty of this work. And I think it's elevating, right? She's here every day, and it's already touched a lot of people. So what we do is we work with the University of Maryland Law School, where she was going to be, and she would have been in this clinic, right, which is kind of cool. And it's a first of its kind curriculum is our main program, where we work with 7th grade students, so middle school students, to prevent sexual assault. And it's research-based now, and we aim to be evidence-based. So we will be measuring it, which is really exciting. And what makes it unique is it's with middle school students, and it is to prevent sexual assault. So 2 things. And then the 3rd thing is that it uses a practice called restorative practices, which is kind of like that circle talk that we kind of did when we were younger, and you had a talking piece, which I know now with the pandemic, they would all have their own talking piece, which they did do right before everything shut down. And so built into this curriculum is pretty spectacular. It's all of these protective factors and things that, like I said, studies show help individuals be more empathetic, right? Or read facial expressions. Other things like homophobic name calling, might be a predictor of someone later causing harm. And so built into this 7-module curriculum are things that we know help protect or reduce the risks within children who could become rapists, or children who can become survivors, right? And with this, what's kind of cool is the prevention it's 2 times its weight, right? Like, so a child that doesn't become a rapist, well, that also means 1 or more survivors don't occur either. So it's pretty powerful. And that's our main curriculum. And then we do a lot of other really awesome little things regarding survivor webinars, conversations like this, education. A lot of people don't know that middle school is when, young people are reportedly having the highest amount of sexual harassment, and then it goes down in high school. But that's unfortunately when rape and sexual assault go up. So if we can focus in middle school during those low-level occurrences and educate around it, we aim to prevent those later actions like assault and rape. Yeah.
I think it's a topic that not a lot of people in our area want to talk about, but it needs to be addressed, and and our kids need to feel safe.
Right. Yeah, and one of the things in the measurements, it's interesting, feeling safe, something really simple. If you look at, why did a child not show up to school that day, right? And what's interesting about restorative practices is it engages, think of an incident, right? And it might be a person pushed another child, right? And maybe detention is just the one who pushed the other child, right? But this creates an opportunity for discussion, not just between the 2 the incident happened between, but anyone who was around there. Because a child might have witnessed something that made them uncomfortable, and then they don't want to go to school. And when a child doesn't go to school in certain areas or in any area, other things can happen, right? They can become at risk for other things, whether it be a gang or prison, or simply falling behind in school, unsafety at home. So there's just so many things that, keeping them in school and helping them feel safe, like you said, is important. And just like creating a more educated, inclusive, future population, right? So I think about just like the work world, and if people were more sensitive in certain areas, or just aware and inclusive, it could really make a big difference. So, it depends. I know people, I'm a mom, so I focus on that area, but I know that there's other areas, obviously, that people really care about.
Yeah. And I liked your goal and vision of likening it to Moms Against Drunk Driving.
Yeah, so that was so interesting, because I think when we started this work, this is hard, right? It takes time and funds and a lot of effort and care by creating a prevention curriculum. It's being studied, it takes pilot programs, those cost money, and we're building an endowment on the side. So as the world changes, right? Like it's now there's texting, who knows what's next, and so we need this to be able to stay relevant. And we were just talking about, like, it's hard for people to see, right? Like the importance of this sometimes, but it was, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, like it started around a kitchen table and they were like, this is not okay. Let's do something. And so they were a part of the movement that helped reduce drunk driving deaths by 50% in about, I think it was 30 years. So it takes time, but that's change, right? My son is like, Mommy, you buckled up. And I'm like, like things like that. I remember when we had to wear seatbelts and our parents didn't, or there's these things, right, that can change, and change can happen, but it takes our community to make it happen, and people who care and say, I'm not okay with this anymore. Let's do something. Yeah. I've spoken to, like, I'll say, like, some older women, right? And they're like, it's just the way it was, oh, I was date raped. They say it like I ate a bag of potato chips, right? Like it's like really unbelievable. And they're like, oh, it's just what happened, but I'm like, that's not okay, and do you want that for the next generation? So we're working on that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate everything that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
So if obviously you have a lot of needs, and what are the ways that we can help out?
I appreciate that. This conversation is a great start, right? Like, we love, that makes you're now an ambassador, an advocate for this work. I think being aware, following us on Facebook, on Instagram, and I can give you all that information. And then, if there's people that are, if you're interested in, there's always funding opportunities, because this is we have a long road ahead, but it's really important. And we always talk about, kind of when we started, that we're going to be like, we did that, like it's going to be a part of this group that said, I wanted to see that change, and we're going to make that change happen. And so we actually already had a student who went through the curriculum and was getting in trouble, and shared a couple things that showed that the curriculum did impact him, and he stood up in front of his peers, which is a big deal, right? And said, oh, I was talking about this stuff with my mom last night, which is another thing. You're like, okay, that's very cool. And he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he realized that he had made mistakes, and said, I'm really glad you all are here. And so, change can happen. So yeah, obviously supporting us. Facebook fundraisers are a cool way. It helps spread the word. And then we have some fun swag, so there's big and little ways to get involved. And like I said, just following us, and we can always brainstorm. It's a fun thing. We've come up with some really creative ideas based on, our kind of ambassador network of people that want to make impact.
Yeah. Great.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for enlightening all of us. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it in person, but
one day.
Right.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right. Talk to you soon. Let me know if you need anything.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Diane.